Hello Mr. Peeps, this is the Geek Artist back again with another video. I hope you enjoy my current ongoing short series on stylized art. If you haven't checked it out yet, here's a link to the playlist up on the top right corner. Disclaimer, this is gonna be a long video, so please bear with me till the end. So in this video, we're gonna be giving a regular photo a dramatic makeover. I'll be sharing some tips and techniques that you too can apply to your artworks and make them look cooler and more cinematic with enhanced dramatic lighting. I've already made a separate video on this where I go into detail about this process, highlighting multiple different ways in which you can approach this. Here's the link to the video on the top right corner. Definitely check it out if you haven't. Before we start, I want to address something. I've recently received a lot of feedback stating that some of my videos, although helpful and informative, are rushed, sped up, or too fast for beginners to follow. I totally hear you. One of my major fears has been losing my audience to videos that are too long. I've always tried to keep my videos no longer than 10 to 13 minutes because I fear if I go longer than that, I'll lose audience and you guys are gonna get bored or lose interest. Also, this video is gonna be longer. I'm actually taking the advice shared by some of you just to try it out and see how it turns out. So this is all in real time, no time lapse or speed ups. You'll see every second of what I've recorded, coupled with my general voiceover commentary explaining what I'm doing. If it feels too long or boring, do accept my apologies and please try to stick around and watch the video till the end because your engagement will help the YouTube algorithm identify this as a potentially helpful video and accordingly recommend it to more viewers, helping it reach out to more people who might find this useful and in turn helping me out a lot. Based on your response and how this video performs, I'll be designing my future uploads accordingly. And don't forget to hit the like button, share, subscribe and click on the bell icon to get updates about my future uploads. Once again, thank you so much for all your support. I'm truly very grateful. So let's do this. Okay, so what I have here is a reference image, free stock photo that I've downloaded from the internet. I'll be putting a link to that in the description. So the goal of this is to give this a very dramatic lighting, and one of the key features of dramatic lighting is high contrast. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two different passes, one pass for the light and one pass for the dark, and the combination of these light and dark passes is what's going to create the high contrast dramatic image. So what I'll do now is I'll click on the adjustment layer icon on the bottom right corner and I'll click on levels. So I'll create the light pass now, and it's nothing but using the levels to create a much brighter version. So I'm going to push everything on the left side so that I get a really nice, bright and overexposed mask. And the next goal is to create the shadow pass. And for the shadow pass, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create levels adjustment. I'm going to take another levels adjustment layer and push everything to the right, especially the mid-tone marker. That way I get a nice dark pass. So if I switch the layers on and off, you see the difference. So the next thing that I'm going to do is really fun and it's very easy. It's just deleting the shadow. So what I have on top is the shadow pass or the shadow levels adjustment layer, and I'll just erase parts of it that I don't need, where I want light to come and hit. So what I'll basically be doing is adding some very strong bright light on the background. So I'll just go to the layer mask, or I'll just click on that white part of the adjustment layer and I'll pick black color from the color palette. And then I'll go to my brush tool. I'll be picking a texture brush, and then I'll be coming back to the mask and I'll just paint that in places where I don't want any dark shadow. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of the shadow so that I can see the light pass, which is on the layer right below this shadow layer, shows up in those places. So what I have in mind is that some really bright light is going to be coming in from the right side, from behind this foreground building, and that bright light is gonna fall on the street right on the other side, right in front of where the woman is standing or walking. If you think that you want to bring back some shadow to this layer, then you can paint it back using white. And that's basically how layer masks work. You paint black to get rid of the effect and you paint white on it to bring some of it back. And as the light hits the road, some of it is also going to hit the building on the left side. And so similarly, I painted some on the top. So I want to add some warmth to the light. So I'll take a new layer and I'll set it to overlay blending mode, and I'll pick some yellow color and I'll just paint it on a new layer. So that way, not only do I have a very strong bright light, but it's also warm right now. It's yellowish, gives you that sense of really warm summer heat almost. So what I want to do is I want to add some color variation to this next. So I'll take a new layer and I'll set it to overlay blending mode, and then I'll take a really saturated bright red color and I'll just paint it gently on the edge of this strong light that is falling on the street. That way what will happen is that the bright yellow light won't just suddenly transition into this dark bluish shadow of the building that's falling on the street. It's going to be a middle color, which is red or something kind of orangish, or even pink works sometimes. You can just play around with that. I'm going to erase some of that where I think the woman's shadow is going to fall, and I'll try to erase some of that light there falling on the lady also to create a bit of contrast there. Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some really nice haze or bloom effect, and also be adding some depth to the background. So I'll take a new layer, set it to hard light blending mode, and I'll take some warm yellowish bright color, not very saturated, something in the middle, and I'll take the soft front brush, take a large size, keep the opacity low, and I'll be gently painting in the area where the light is directly hitting or where the light rays are coming from. The entire place that is almost flooded with very warm light, I'll be painting it in that entire area, but again, not overdo it. And then I'm going to erase some parts of it to create a bit of contrast, or else it's just going to look very muddy. Along with all that bloom and haze, you also need some sharp, strong shapes to create that contrast. Okay, what I'm going to do now is, just like I got rid of the shadow from the shadow pass to reveal some of the light, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase some of the light from the light pass to get some really strong shadow. So I've come to the adjustment layer at the bottom, and now I'm using black color to paint some of the light out of the building on the right side. So there's technically this side of the building is supposed to be facing on the opposite side of the light's direction, so it will be quite dark. So the street right in front of us should be quite dark because it's in the shadow of this building, and that's how we achieve the look. And now going back to that haze or bloom layer, I'll take the eraser and I'll erase it where the woman is standing to get a very strong contrast or silhouette, which is gonna add a lot of value to the mood we're trying to create, because this really adds a lot of value to this, having a subject. And this is where all the tension is going to go, and it's really going to help in building the mood. So I'm not going to delete it completely. I'm going to keep some of that bloom or haze there, not entirely get rid of it from that area. I'm happy with that. So what I'm doing now is I've taken a new layer and using a very small size brush, and I've picked some of the brightest tones present in the scene. I'm painting some very strong rim light on the character on the top right side. Not only am I painting some yellow, but also some very bright white is where the highlights are peaking. Next, I'll take another new layer, set it to hard light, and I'll be painting some glow in the areas where the hard strong light is hitting the woman. So that little bit of glow, it should be very subtle, shouldn't be too obvious. Again, really helps in developing the mood. So what I'm doing now is I'm adding some more light on the left side building. So using the lasso tool, select some shape. Maybe imagine this light falling through some kind of window or some kind of architectural opening or gap from the right side, and it's falling on this building, or there's this wall on the left. So once I've selected that whole area, maybe some of it might fall on the street as well. I'm holding down Alt on my keyboard if you want to chop some portion out of the selection, if I want to deselect something. I'm kind of trying to follow the perspective of the scene so that the light again doesn't look too off, and then some bits and pieces here and there to sort of simulate the effect of how it'll look if the light was falling through trees. And then I'll set this layer to overlay, and using a very bright yellowish tone, I'm going to paint it Now this is one way of doing it. The other way would be again deleting the shadow pass layer so that the light pass pops up. That's one thing you can do, but this is another way of doing it. What I did is I just duplicated that layer once more to sort of multiply the effect, get twice the impact of that, and I'm doing it again in another layer so that it gets even brighter, and repeat it as many times as you want until you're happy with the amount of brightness you're getting out of it. And finally, I'll add a bit of Gaussian blur to it so that the edges don't look too sharp, and I'll do that to all three of the overlay layers that I used to create this light. And next I'll take another new layer, set it to hard light, and I'll pick some of the brighter yellow tones from the scene with low opacity. I'll be painting it on these areas where the light is hitting the left wall to create some very atmospheric haze or glow in those areas. So it felt a bit overdone, so I'm just erasing some parts from there. And what I'll do now is take a new layer, set it to hard light, pick some of the warmer tones from the scene, and then just paint it wherever there's a lot of bright light, for example the sky, or where the light is overall hitting, to create some depth over there, to create some atmospheric perspective. And then I'll erase, add some glow, some of the brighter lights that are hitting the left side building, and then paint some more highlight on the leaves or the foliage that's creating a nice arch. I'll paint some loose highlight on the leaves also to make things look a bit more organic. I can erase some parts of that if I felt it's looking a bit odd or disturbing. Now again, coming to the light on the foreground, I can add some variation in the edge. I can add some reddish light, so I'll set it to overlay and paint some of that where the warm yellow light is transitioning to the dark shadow on the street. So I want to show a bit more brightness on that light falling there, so I'll take a new layer, set it to overlay, and paint some more warm whitish yellow over there. And finally, I'm going to paint just a bit of vignette effect in the foreground, because I feel like it is pulling a bit too much attention because of all the warm light. So the light is going to be there, but it's also not going to be too disturbing or in your face. So it's there, but not really something that bothers you or takes your attention away from the main subject. So I'm more or less happy with how this has turned out so far. So what I want to do now is I want to add some more warmth to the scene overall. So I'll take a new adjustment layer, which is color balance adjustment layer, just like how I took levels. I'm going to push the markers towards red and yellow to get that overall nice warm mood there. And again, I'm going to click on the white mask layer and I'll pick black color, and I'm going to erase some of that, especially from the shadow areas, because I want some cool tones in the shadow areas to complement all of that bright warm light that we see in the scene. So I'm trying to lower the opacity of the haze layer a little bit. Now for the direction of the light on the foreground, I'll try to slightly manipulate it or transform it so that it looks like it's following the direction of the light in the background. And now I feel like maybe there's a lot of light in the foreground which I don't want, so I'll crop it up slightly to take some of the light out of it. And to add some final touches, I'll erase the glow from some of the areas where I feel like it's a little too much or it can be a little less. Now for the light falling on the left side, what I'm doing is I'm trying to make selection a little more organic. So I'm using the lasso tool to make some very rough selections to simulate the shapes of leaves. And then I'll just erase it. Press backspace on the keyboard on all the layers, all the three overlay layers that I used to create the light. I'll erase some of the vignette from the top.
And so I'll put all of that inside the group. I'll select all the layers and I'll press Ctrl G on my keyboard to put them all inside a group. And yeah, that is the before and after, how it looked before and how it looks now after that dramatic makeover, cinematic exaggerated lighting, you can say. So that's it. That's my whole processing technique, how I did it, and that's how you too can do it. So go ahead and try this on your artwork. So if you want to try this on some photos, feel free. And to add some final touches, I'm gonna add some chromatic aberration effect to it. So I'll just duplicate the whole thing. I'll press Ctrl A to select the whole thing, and I'll let Ctrl Shift C and Ctrl V to paste it. And then I'm gonna double click on this thumbnail. It's gonna open up the layer styles panel, and from the advanced blending channels I'm gonna switch off R, and then coming back to the canvas I'm gonna zoom in, and using the move buttons on my keyboard I'm gonna move this layer slightly to get that kind of color fringing effect on the edges. The last thing I want to do is I want to copy and duplicate the whole thing and add some noise to it. Very little, very subtle. So that's it, a bit of post-processing, and that's what we have.
And there we go, a before and after, the dramatic lighting makeover. If you're still here and actually made it this far in the video, you're the best. Thank you for sticking around and for your support. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to get updates about my future uploads. So that's all for now. See you on the next one. Peace.